So important terminology, capital budgeting process. We're looking at two types of projects here. The first is independent and the second is mutually exclusive. Right, so when looking at an independent project, cash flows are unrelated and they're independent of one another. Okay, so independence, is it important to be independent?
Yes.
Why?
Because you can't live relying on everyone all the time.
Okay, so if you've got an independent project, what would an independent project be?
Well, projects that don't rely on your attention all the time, I guess.
Okay, almost. They're totally separate. So one project doesn't affect the other. So for example, let's use your example that you mentioned earlier, buying a tablet. Okay, buying a tablet would be considered an independent project. So the project would be buying a tablet. Another project could be the job that you mentioned. Okay, so starting a new job. Okay, so those are two separate projects. The one is referring to the tablet being purchased and the other is referring to the job. Are they independent and unrelated?
Yes.
Yes. So buying the tablet isn't going to affect the job opportunity. Or taking or not taking the job isn't going to affect the decision to buy or not buy the tablet. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so when looking at independent projects, the one does not eliminate the other. Okay, so can I accept more than one project? Can I accept A and B if they're independent?
Yes.
Yes, I can, because you could have bought the new tablet and you could have taken the new job as well. Okay, both you could have taken. Do you agree?
Yes.
All right, because they're independent. The one doesn't eliminate the other.
Yes.
All right, so now we've got mutually exclusive projects. Projects compete with one another for acceptance and approval. Okay, so here I'm going to use tablet.
Yes.
And I'm going to use laptop.
Okay.
So those are two projects that would be mutually exclusive, because you told me when we had the demonstration, you said your laptop was a bit old and you had to buy something new, so you probably would have decided to either go with the tablet or you could have gone with the laptop. Either or would have been an option. Do you agree?
Yes.
Do you agree you don't need both?
Yes.
Okay, the tablet can do everything a laptop can do, the laptop can do everything a tablet can do. So it's either or. Okay, so in that scenario, you would be looking at that as being a mutually exclusive project. Because if I go with the tablet, then I eliminate the laptop.
Yes.
Okay, the one eliminates the other. That's a mutually exclusive project, meaning I have to choose one or the other. So it's either A or B. So if I choose A, I can't choose B. Do you agree?
Yes.
Okay, so it's also like time. Time is mutually exclusive because you can only do one thing at a time. Okay, you can either watch a movie or go to the gym. Okay, you can't do both. You can't go to the gym. Well, actually, you could. You could gym and watch a movie. That could be possible. But okay, that's not a good example. So let me think of another. Okay, working and studying. You can't do both. Okay, you can't work and study at the same time.
Yeah.
All right. You have to choose between studying or working at a particular point in time. Okay, whether you study part-time or full-time, that's irrelevant, but I'm just looking at time. You can't do more than one thing at a specific point in time. Okay. Right, so if I'm looking at the process, we spoke about this earlier. We've got a note about capital rationing. What does the word ration mean? You've probably heard it before.
I don't know.
Okay, capital rationing looks at allocating funds that are limited.
Okay.
Okay, so when I have limited resources, I need to allocate, I need to budget. Are funds unlimited?
No.
No, they're not. So what do I then do when budgeting for certain projects? Well, there needs to be an accept or reject approach in terms of minimum requirements. Okay, so this would be almost like your standards. Okay, so think of like accounting standards or even standards in terms of technology. Okay, so earlier you told me about a phone, okay, a cell phone, smartphone, mobile phone. Okay, so let's look at that, a mobile phone. In terms of your accept and reject approach, what are the minimum requirements for a mobile phone?
Well, internet access, taking nice pictures, WhatsApp, Instagram.
Okay, good. So do you agree, in terms of a minimum requirement, would you buy a phone that doesn't have a colored screen?
No.
No. Would you buy a phone that doesn't have a camera?
No.
No. Would you buy a phone that can't connect to the internet?
No.
No. And those phones used to exist, and now they don't. Why? Because the minimum requirements are in place, meaning there's an accept and reject approach. So we will not accept a mobile phone that doesn't meet certain requirements.
Yes.
Okay. The same thing applies to projects. Projects have certain minimum requirements. Okay, and we'll look at what those are in other examples later on. Okay. Then, once you've got all the mobile phones, okay, so you get different makes and models of mobile phones. Can you give me some examples?
iPhone, Samsung, LG.
What else? Give me one more.
Gee, I don't even know. Nokia.
Okay. Alright, so do you agree? Those are all different manufacturers. Okay, Apple, Samsung, LG, Nokia. Okay, so if I'm looking at those minimum standards, okay, do you agree all those phone manufacturers create cell phones that meet our minimum requirements? So they all connect to the internet, they all have cameras, they all have a screen, they all have colored pictures and a good camera and all of that. Okay, so they meet the minimum requirements. Right, now what do we do with those mobile providers? We rank them, do you agree?
Yes.
Okay, and that's the next approach. Now it's the ranking. So once you know that the minimum requirements have been met, now I need to rank them in terms of best to worst. So out of these four, which is number one?
Samsung.
Okay, 2.
iPhone.
3.
LG.
And then Nokia would be last. Okay, so see, what you've done is you've ranked those mobile phones. So when looking at finance, we're going to do the exact same thing, but for projects. We'll have project A, B, C, D, and we'll rank them in terms of which is the best and which is the worst. And which projects do we choose? The best or the worst?
Best.
Exactly, we choose the best. Okay, so your tablet and mobile phone is probably a Samsung. Why? Because your view in terms of your minimum requirements, so tablet, smartphone, whatever the case might be, okay, Samsung meets your minimum requirements. And then in terms of your ranking, you believe Samsung to be the best, and that's why you chose it. All right, and that's what companies do, but they do it on a more, let's say, holistic view, because they're looking at projects, they're looking at products, they're looking at services, they're looking at campaigns, perhaps in terms of marketing. So there's such a lot of different applications that could be applied here, but the basic principles are the same. You take limited resources in terms of capital rationing, and you take them and you budget for certain projects to be accepted and implemented.
Okay.
Right, now we've got a note about cash flows. You get two types. You get conventional and you get non-conventional cash flow patterns. Initial outflow followed by a series of inflows. So what would that cash flow look like? Well, let's draw a timeline. I'll have the start and I'll have the end. Okay, if there's an initial outflow followed by a series of inflows, okay, is the outflow positive or negative?
Negative.
Correct. And a series of inflows, so they would all be Positive.
Yes.
Okay. That's conventional cash flow. Okay, so initial outflow followed by a series of inflows is what form of cash flow?
Conventional.
Conventional. Right, then we have an initial outflow followed by a series of inflows and outflows. What do you think that's going to be?
Non-conventional.
Non-conventional. Okay, so here we'll have plus, then minus, plus, then minus, plus, plus. Okay, so long as I have those, I have an initial outflow followed by a series of inflows and outflows. That's non-conventional cash flow. Happy?
Okay. Yes.
Right. So let's see if you remember how to interpret cash flow in terms of positive and negative, non-conventional, unconventional. Okay, so if I look at this series of cash flow, non-conventional or conventional?
Well, this specific one, there's not it doesn't start with an outflow, but
Correct.
there's
So non-conventional, because it's not consistent with the initial outflow being an amount. So if I wanted this to be non-conventional in its true sense, I would have to have initial outflow followed by another outflow at some point in time. Okay. Right, what does net present value stand for?
what it is today.
Correct. Okay, today's worth in its simple terms. Okay, so net present value is you're taking everything in the future. I'm taking this amount, I'm taking that amount, I'm taking all these amounts, and I'm discounting them back in time.
Okay.
If net present value is positive or equal to 0, I was achieved and there was bonus. The only time where we reject is if if net present value is less than 0. If NPV is less than 0, I am not going to accept the project, because am I creating value?
No.
No. So value is only created if NPV is greater than 0, okay, or the I is achieved if the net present value is equal to 0.
Okay.
IRR we've seen before as well in terms of internal rate of return. Okay, it's just the rate. We'll look at all these calculations in more detail later. If I look at IRR, it's the rate that's applicable to the cash flow. Right, so the I is the amount that I have over the period in time. Okay, so from start to finish, what rate do I actually get?
Okay.
Right, first bit of calculation. Relevant cash flows. If something is relevant, is it going to affect the decision making?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so cash flows can be relevant or irrelevant. If they're relevant, they're part of the decision-making process, and I then need to calculate those amounts. So there are 3 calculations that you need to take away from this week. The first being initial investment, the second, OCF, and the third, TCF. Okay, operating cash flow, terminal cash flow, and all 3 of these are done on a separate calculation.
Okay.
First bit we need to discuss is the decision to replace. We spoke about motives for investing into capital, expansion versus replacement or renewal. So replacement and renewal is looking at this, okay? Relevant cash flow that will affect the decision making, okay, currently, because what I decide to do now will affect what will happen in the future.
Okay.
Right, so if I'm looking at the decision to replace, I'm going to have to look at the initial investment, I'm going to have to look at the OCF, and I'm going to have to look at the TCF. Are those calculations separate?
Yes.
Yes. There are 3 separate calculations. For each one, you need to look at the new and you need to look at the old. And if I subtract new from old, I then get the initial investment. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And you do the same thing for OCF, new minus old, and TCF, new minus old. Right, so that's what I do when I have a replacement decision. So replacing an asset, is the old asset relevant?
Okay.
Is the old asset relevant if I replace?
No.
It is.
Yes,
Because it's a
yes.
replacement decision. Can you still use the old asset?
Yes.
No, you can't. If you're replacing the old asset, you're replacing it.
No, but before you make the decision, you either choose, are you going to keep on using the old one, or are you going to replace it?
Okay, see, that's good. Okay, because that's relevant for the decision making today. So that's good. So what you said there in terms of I either decide to keep it or not. Do you see that the old asset has relevant to the new asset? Do you agree?
Yes.
Okay, so am I going to analyze the old and the new?
Yes.
Correct. Okay, and that's what we're going to be doing for a replacement decision.
Okay.
What happens if I have expansion? Is the old relevant?
No.
No, it isn't. Why isn't the old relevant?
Because you're not going to be using it anymore.
No, not quite. Okay, because if you look at expansion, you're buying new, so the old asset doesn't affect the decision to expand.
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay.
expansion is buying more of something, purely for the purposes of buying more of it.
Okay.
Replacement is buying something to replace something else. So does the old asset have relevance for that decision making?
For replacement, yes.
Yes, for replacement, definitely correct. Okay, so with expansion decisions will always have 0 for the old assets. Okay, so do we like expansion decisions? Yes, because if I go back here, this will be a 0, this will be a 0, this will be a 0. So with expansion, all I look at is the new.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So with expansion decisions are easier to calculate than replacement decisions. Replacement decisions are more difficult to calculate because you need to go through more of the steps. Because if I have replacement, I need to look at all of this. Is that alright? Did that make sense?
But you're breaking up.
Is that alright? Did that make sense?
No, sorry, you were breaking up a bit.
Oh, okay, so let's just repeat that then. Okay, so the decision to replace is key. Why? Because the old asset has relevance for the decision making. So if I'm going to be replacing an asset, I'm going to have to look at all of those calculations. I'm going to have to do a calculation for all of those cash flows.
Up again.
Okay.
It's breaking up.
All right. Tanvi, are you still there? Can
yes, but it's breaking up.
Seriously?
Yes.
Okay, that's strange. Okay.
Yeah,
the connection looks fine on my side. Let me just check the... Yeah, it looks fine. I've still got full connection. Okay, so not too sure what that break was. Don't stress. Is everything okay now?
Yes.
Okay, good. So when I look at a replacement decision, I'm focusing on what? New and old. So I need to look at the calculation for both.
Okay.
Okay. Right, what is a sunk cost?
Expansion is only new.
Expansion, yes. I only look at the new because the old has 0 value.
Okay.
Good. Okay, what is a sunk cost?
I don't know.
Okay, the definition is here. Cash outlays already made and therefore have no effect on the cash flow relevant to the current decision. So, if something is sunk, think about a hole. Okay? And if you throw something into the hole, and the hole is very, very deep,
yes.
Okay, are you going to be able to get that back?
No.
No. Okay, so a sunk cost is when you make a decision. So when you make a decision, you got to live with the consequences. Okay. That's basically what we're looking at. So a sunk cost is once you've made the decision, once you've done something, there's no way of going back. Okay, live with it, move on. That's the sunk cost that you have to bear with in terms of the actual business. So the business has a sunk cost that you can't get back.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So is a sunk cost included in the decision making?
Yes.
No. Why would you include that in decision making?
Because you can't change it.
You can't undo the past. Okay. So companies need to be forward looking. Companies need to look at how do I achieve the goal, not how do I worry about what happened in the past.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay.
Okay, so in terms of the finance, the financial managers use the term a sunk cost when they refer to things that have happened that we can't do anything about.
Okay.
Right. And opportunity cost is relevant. Why?
Because
think of the word opportunity.
You can still do something about it or choose between two different stuff.
Perfect. Okay, that's exactly right in terms of what an opportunity cost is. And an opportunity cost is you have choice. You choose what you want to do. Do I go with A or do I go with B? You still have choice. Once you've made that choice, well, then you need to live with the consequences because now it becomes a sunk cost. Opportunity costs are current, how can I put it? A current, let's say a current factor that will change the decision making for a particular company. Okay, so a company will have an opportunity cost of replacing versus expanding. Okay, because think about it. If I'm going to be replacing a machine, if I replace the machine, the opportunity cost would have been what? What have I lost out on?
The other.
Of not using the asset. Correct. Okay, so an opportunity cost is if I choose one item over another, I've lost something basically. Okay. So in you do a lot of economics, so you probably know opportunity cost quite well. They talk about like marginal utility and all of those types of considerations. So an opportunity cost would be what I lose out on. It's what I forego.
Yes.
Okay. Foreign direct investment, just something to consider, but from an exam point of view, you need to start going to test that because they're looking at a South African context.
Okay.
All right, so now you've really got to pay attention because now we're starting with the actual working. So now we've covered the theory. All the theory is done, and then we can now look at this, the actual calculation. So I'm focusing on relevant costs. Relevant costs are important. Why? Because of decisions. We make decisions based on the costs. Okay, and that's why we spoke about those what, the why, and all of that previously. So here is the analysis. So once I've decided, okay, great, I'm going to go buy the tablet, or I'm going to start the new job, whatever the case might be, now we need some analysis. Okay, so what's the initial investment? What do we say the initial investment is?
Well, buying the tablet.
Correct. It's the first step in the timeline. So remember in previous modules, okay, in FIN3701, you were given the cost. Do you agree? You were given the initial investment at time 0. Do you agree?
Yes.
And all you had to do was type that into the calculator, and then the calculator gave you the answer, right?
Yes.
Okay. In this module, in FIN3701, you are going to have to find the values for the timeline first, and then you're going to have to put that into the calculator to get a decision.
Sure, okay.
Okay. All right, so when calculating the initial investment, this is the formula. Okay, and this is the formula they use in the textbook. This is the formula that we have to use in terms of actually providing the information in order to make a decision. Okay, the analysis.
Okay.
Right, so when calculating the initial investment, I need the cost of the new with installation costs. I need to subtract the after-tax proceeds from the old. Why is the old relevant? Because it's a decision to replace.
Okay.
And that'll be proceeds minus the tax. and then I add or subtract the change in net working capital. And that's how I get to the initial investment.
Sure, okay.
So the initial investment is right at the beginning. It's at T0. It's the INV. That's what I'm trying to calculate. In order to get that, I need to calculate it using this formula.
Okay.
Right, so here's an example. I want you to read the example and highlight things that are important. Quickly do that.
Okay, so I said replace the
Good.
old.
Why? Why did you highlight replace?
Because we're gonna forget about the old now, so it will be an
No. Expansion, you don't worry about the old. Replacement,
yes,
you
I'm
do.
saying be eliminating the old, so it's going to be an expansion.
No, you're replacing the old. So it isn't expansion, it's replacement.
Okay.
Okay, so is the old relevant?
Yes.
Correct, and that's important. See, that's how you do it. So I need to look at the old because this is a decision to replace. Great. Okay, how much does the new machine cost?
What, 2 million?
Correct. Do I need to install it?
Yes.
So how much does the actual machine cost?
2.2.
Correct, there's it there. Okay, so here's the install cost of the machine. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Right, now we need to look at what? Let's go back to the formula. The formula gave us step number 2. What do I do with step number 2? After tax proceeds from the sale of the old asset. Do I have the proceeds of the old?
No.
Really? What's the proceeds of the old asset?
We don't know.
What does it mean, proceeds of the old asset? If I sell the asset today, how much am I going to
Oh,
get?
sorry, I didn't read down. That's 600,000.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't read the whole thing.
Okay. This is the proceeds from the sale of the old. Do you agree?
Yes.
Okay, so now we've got this. Okay, then I need the tax on the sale. How do I calculate tax on the sale of an asset? Have you done tax yet, Tammy?
No.
You haven't. Okay, so you have done accounts though, so you're familiar with carrying value, right?
So.
How do I calculate carrying value? Cost minus accumulated depreciation.
Yes.
Okay, so when I look at the carrying value of the asset, I need to work out that. So I need to know what is the carrying value of the asset. Well, how old is the asset?
For 5 years.
No.
2 years.
Yes, the asset is 2 years old.
Okay.
So I'm depreciating the asset over 5 years straight line. Okay, so how much depreciation will I have each year?
But why? I don't understand that 5 year if it's only 2 years old.
Okay, you bought the machine 2 years ago and the machine has 5 years of useful life. Makes sense?
Okay.
Okay, so you can use this asset for 5 years and you'll depreciate it for 5 years.
Okay.
Okay, so how much depreciation will I have each year?
Well, 5 divided by 2.
No, 800,000 divided by 5. Because remember, this is the straight line method. Remember your accounting, straight line depreciation?
Okay.
Okay, so 800,000 divided by 5 gives me the depreciation per year. What's 800,000 divided by 5?
I don't know.
And calculator, divide by 5, you should get 160.
Reduce.
160,000. Okay, so now we know what the depreciation is. How do I get the carrying value?
The cost.
Which is what? 800,000.
Yes.
That's the cost. Then I need to minus accumulated depreciation. How do I get accumulated depreciation? How old is the asset?
2 years.
2 years. How much depreciation do I have each year?
That 160.
Correct. So if I've got 2 years of depreciation, how much will I have?
Times 2. 320.
Correct. Okay, so what is the carrying value of the asset?
The 800,000 minus the 320,000, so it will be 48, I think.
Good. Okay, so now you've got the carrying value. Right, so how do I work out if there's tax on the sale or not? Well, did I sell the asset at more than its carrying value?
Yes.
How much was the asset's proceeds?
600.
Good. And the carrying value is?
480.
Good. So is there going to be a profit or loss on the sale?
Profit.
Good. Is the profit going to be taxable?
Yes.
Correct. Okay, and that's how we get the tax on the sale. Perfect. So I'm going to go to the slide, the next slide. There's the tax on the sale. So we just did all the calculations. Okay. 600,000 minus 480
yes
equals 120,000. What is that? That's the profit on sale. Happy?
Yes.
Okay, and how much tax do I pay on profit? 30% in the notes.
Okay.
So 30% of my profit will be taxable. So the tax on the sale is 36,000.
What? Now what's that 36,000 for now?
36,000 is the tax on the sale. We just worked it out. 120,000 times 30%.
I didn't work that out, sorry.
Okay, that's the profit on sale. The profit on sale will be taxed at 30%.
Let me just check here. Okay.
Good. All right, then if we go back to the question said net working capital is expected to increase by 30,000. Okay, so all I have to do is just pull that through to my working, and that's where I got the 30,000.
Okay, but what is that net working capital?
Net working capital, that we'll actually learn about in 3702. So the next module, that short module, that's looking at net working capital. Working capital, remember, is your current assets and your current liabilities. It's the short-term finance that you have available for short-term obligations.
Okay.
Okay, so net working capital is what we need to sustain the business.
Okay.
Okay, and then once you've got that, then I just need to apply the formula and I get the initial investment. Okay, so let me just erase this. Those amounts give me that answer over there.
Where does that 564 come from?
It comes from this. Proceeds less the tax on sale.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions?
No.
Okay, great. Alright, that's the first calculation that you need to do to draw what? The initial investment. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Next bit, OCF, operating cash flow. Operating cash flow is where? Over the life of the project. It's operations. So now I'm looking at this. OCF, 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 OCF. I'm looking at the cash flows over the life of the project. That's what I'm looking at in terms of the diagram. Make sense?
Okay.
Okay. So we've got two scenarios here. With the new machine, revenue and expenses for the next 5 years are expected to be that. And with the old machine, revenue and expenses for the next 5 years are expected to be this. Okay, so you've got old and you've got new. Is old and new important?
Yes.
Why?
Because we're doing replacement.
Correct. Okay, this is replacement. Nice. Alright, so let's have a look at the new machine. Here's the new machine. Does the new machine's revenue and expenses change over the next 5 years?
No.
No.
Yeah.
So I've done one table here, but this table is actually applicable for all 5 years. Okay, so I don't have to do 5 tables. I just need one. Because they're the same for all 5 years.
Okay.
Happy?
Yes.
Okay. What was the revenue for the 5 years?
Let me just go back to that page. Okay. Yes, the 3520.
And what was the expenses?
2.3.
Correct. That's where this comes from. Okay. How do I get this? What asset am I viewing?
New one.
Correct. So what is the cost of the new asset?
The 3.2.
No, cost of the new asset. 3.2 isn't the cost of the new asset.
Why?
2.2.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay, the cost of the new asset is 2.2 million. How long are we going to depreciate this asset for?
5 years.
Correct. So, how do I get the depreciation here? 2.2 million divided by 5 years gives me the depreciation.
Yes.
Okay. How do I get taxes? What is tax calculated at? What percentage?
30%.
Correct. So, this is the EBIT less the tax gives me the net operating profit.
So I'll say, but where do I get that 780 from?
I take this amount minus the depreciation. It's a subtotal.
Okay.
The one minus the other. One minus the other.
Okay.
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 All right.
And then
so
the 780. So the 780 minus the 30% equals the 234.
No, the tax is 234. 780,000 times 30% is the actual tax.
Which gives you the 234.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I asked.
Correct. That's the tax.
Okay.
Right. Then you minus the tax from your EBIT and you get the operating profit. That's another subtotal. Okay. Why do we add depreciation back? We take it off, then we add it back. Why do we do that?
I don't know.
Is depreciation a cash flow?
No.
No. Depreciation is a non-cash item.
Mm-hmm.
So non-cash items need to be added back because they're irrelevant. You're taking it out of the calculation. Okay, so always remember, just add back the depreciation after you've taken it off.
Okay.
Non-cash items needed to be added back.
Okay.
Right. And then the last line gives you the operating cash flow. So this amount minus that amount gives you that answer.
Okay.
Okay, and that's OCF. So now you know if I had to draw a timeline, I'm going to have 960,000 every single year for the next 5 years for which machine?
New.
The new machine. Okay. Alright, here's the old. If I go back to the old, how much revenue do I get in year 1?
Where's the old one? Okay.
Okay, do we have the same or different amounts?
Different.
Yes, we have different amounts every year. So because the amounts are different every year, I'm going to have how many calculations here?
5.
Correct. Going to have 5 calculations. Good. Okay, so the new machine, I've done the calculation here for you. How do I get the depreciation? We actually got it earlier. Remember we said?
The cost divided by the 5 years.
Okay, yes. So, sorry, wrong slide. This is the old one. Yeah, they're old. Okay, so what was the cost? The cost was 800, and we divided that by 5. That gave us the 160. We did the calculation earlier. We're just pulling through the same amount.
Okay.
Okay. Right, then you take the tax off. You then add back the depreciation, and you get the OCF. This OCF is for the old machine at time 1.
Okay.
Right, would I have to look at year 2, 3, 4, and 5?
Yes.
Yes, I would. Okay, and I've done it for you on a summary. There's the summary there. Okay, so earlier we calculated this. This was for the new machine. Is the new machine going to change year by year? No, it isn't. So we said that was going to be the 5 amounts that we'll have for the 5 years.
Okay.
Here's the old machine. That's the one that we just worked out. This one, okay, those are all for those different years. Year 2, year 3, year 4, and year 5. So you can actually check this. What I would do if I was you, I would take this template, okay,
Yes.
and I would redo it for year 2, year 3, year 4, and year 5. And if you do it correctly, the answers that you get here at the bottom will be those answers that you've got over here.
Okay, I'll try it for homework.
Yeah, so try it. You're just doing the same calculation 5 times.
Okay.
Okay. Right, then if I summarize the operating cash flow, I'm going to have year 1 to year 5. Do you agree? Okay, so if I draw a timeline, I'm going to have cash flows. Okay, do you see we're building the timeline? Okay, because we had the initial investment, which we worked out before, and now I've got this amount, which is at time 1. I've got this amount, which is at time 2. I've got this amount, which is at time 3. This amount at time 4. And this amount at time 5. And those are all your OCFs.
Okay.
Okay, makes sense?
Yes.
Perfect. Right, then the last bit is the TCF. How do I get the terminal cash flow? The same thing applies. Follow a formula. This formula is very similar to which one?
The one we just did.
No, the one we did earlier, the initial investment. Okay, initial investment and TCF, they use the same equation, very similar. New minus old.
Okay, so it's similar. Okay.
Okay, So the TCF is what I need in order, or the formula rather, is what I need to calculate the TCF. Okay, but be careful. You need to look at this. Where am I in terms of time? Am I at the beginning, during, or end?
Beginning.
No, terminal cash flow is at the end. Okay, so think about someone who is terminally ill. Terminally ill means they're close to dying if they're in a terminally ill condition, right?
Okay.
Okay, so terminal cash flow means the cash flow at the end. So if I draw a timeline, this is where I am, TCF. I'm right at the end.
Okay.
Okay, the end of the project.
Okay,
that's key. You need to know where you are in terms of time. So when reading information, here's the information at the bottom. Okay, I've told you information at the bottom that relates to the end of 5 years. Okay, so we can sell the asset at the end of 5 years for 400,000 after removal costs. The old machine is expected to sell for 80,000. The company's net working capital will increase by 30. Assume a tax rate of 30%. Okay, so that's the information that we need to do the calculation. Here's the calculation for you. I've given it to you. Okay. The formula looks at the after-tax purchase of the new minus the after-tax purchase of the old. Okay, remember new minus old is key. Okay. So, how much can I sell the new machine for at the end of the life?
400.
Correct. There's the 400. Right. What book value will I have, or what carrying value will I have at the end of its useful life?
Well, I need to take the cost minus the accumulated depreciation.
Correct. But if it's at the end of the useful life, will it have a value?
No.
No, it won't. Okay, so the tax will be on the full amount. Okay, so 120,000 is calculated from the 400,000, which is 30% of 400,000. 30% of 400,000 is 120. Okay, that's the tax on the sale. Okay.
Okay.
Alright, and then the 400 minus the 120 gives me the 280. That's the after-tax proceeds from the sale of the new.
Okay.
Right, so now that's new complete. Now I need to look at old. Okay, so if I go to old, how much is the old going to sell for?
80.
80. Does the old asset have a carrying value?
Yes.
Well, yes, but the carrying value is 0. Okay, so what will the tax be? The tax will be 30% on the selling price. Okay, so 80 minus 24 gives me 56. That's the after-tax process on the sale of the old.
Okay, so that 24 is the 30% on the 80.
Yeah, 30% of 80 gives you the 24.
Okay.
Okay, and then the net working capital was given in the question. I've just put it through here. And then the final answer that you get here is the 254. Remember, terminal cash flow, right at the end. T end is where I have the terminal cash flow.
Okay.
Happy?
I think so.
Okay, great. Alright, so let's paint the bigger picture. What does all of that look like? Okay, so Tammy, go back to your notes and give me the initial investment. What is the initial investment? First calculation is the initial investment of how much?
Let me just quickly get back to it. Sorry, I mixed up these papers now.
Okay, let me go back to it. I'll show you it. The initial investment. What was the initial investment? Look at the screen.
Okay, 160.66.
Okay, so if I go to my diagram, happy. Initial investment. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Then I need OCF. Where is OCF?
Let me just get to that. That's a 986.
Yeah, there were different OCFs.
Okay. So which one do I look at?
All of them.
Ah, okay.
These ones. Incremental cash flow. Okay, because OCF is new minus old. So I've got 91, 105, 167. 91.
Are we doing the old or the new now?
I'm looking at the net, the old minus the new minus the old.
But if you go back to page 33.
35.
33.
35. Look at the slide in front of you.
Yes.
This is the summary, new minus old.
Okay, but I'm asking you, why on page 33 is there the 986?
Because this is for the new.
Yes, that's why I'm asking, are we working with the old or the new?
We're looking at both. There's the new. There's the new.
Okay.
There's the new. Here's the old.
Okay.
There's the old. And the new minus the old gives me the incremental. That's what I need.
Okay. Let me just write this down. Okay.
Okay, so now I'm building the diagram. 91, 105, 167.
Okay. But where did we put the new one in now?
It's the net amount. It's new minus old. New minus old gives me the final answer.
Okay.
Okay, and then we've got 67. $181. $195. Okay, so everything in blue is the OCF, right?
Okay.
And then what did we have right at the end?
TCF.
And what was that?
254.
Yes. Okay, and you see, now we've built the timeline. Now you'd be able to then calculate those amounts, NPV, payback period, IRR, because now you have all the cash flows. So notice, you weren't just given the cash flows, you were actually told to work them out first, then you'd have to work out NPV, which we'll do later.